Hello. Welcome to another Write Once, Read Many. This time, focus on Chapter 30.3 from Arc 30 Speck. Hey, Vic. I noticed in your speed draw that it's from earlier in the chapter when she was first doing the portal shit before they were honeycomb hideout. She's like, squares? That's not enough, like, bees. Yeah. As a reminder, the audience participation question this time is, if you could use Doormaker's power to jump around an abandoned Earth, what places would you want to visit? And then, for themes, I'm sure there were many themes, such as losing yourself and anchoring yourself to things, but I just wrote compartmentalization and then named and shamed by the chapter. She thinks to herself how she used to compartmentalize and how that was a good thing. That was great for me. Now that I'm not able to compartmentalize, everything is getting a little overwhelming. So, I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna get in at the chapter. I got, now that Taylor has Doormaker, she's walking around in some kind of daze. She's moving between various ruined cities, mostly places she's fought Endbringers and such. And there's a weight to the loss of all the buildings and the things inside that have spilled out when they're destroyed, that make her feel like all the work that the humans have put into building it up. She's feeling connected to home, and it could just mean Brockton Bay, but it seems to also be how she sees all these other ruined battlefields. Taylor's kind of forming an anchor to the places she's seeing. Then, as she's like doing this, she realizes that she's not actually teleporting between the places with like Doormaker doors. She's sort of just being overwhelmed by memories over and over again. At this point, for a little bit, she's going to believe that she's in New York, but that's just also her being a little delusional, because she's not in New York. And yeah, so since she's being like overwhelmed by the memories to the point that she's losing track of what's happening, it obviously throws her off a bit, and she thinks her way around freaking out about it before admitting to herself that she's losing her grip on like what's happening in the present moment. Thinking about what Glastigüenye had told her about anchors, Taylor goes through the anchors she's used in previous situations. In the past, she's always... Vic says, she starts losing it pretty fast. Yeah, I guess that's kind of true. She like zones out when she's by herself, but then yeah, it's not until later when she's like, I can't speak English at all, or I can't understand English being spoken at all, which is, a bit of a step further. I guess, I don't know how long this chapter lasts, but it doesn't seem like it's that long, so I suppose you're right. She's losing all this in an unknown span of time, but I'd assume like 20 to 30 minutes tops. Vic is double slapping. Front hand, backhand. Pull it together. Yeah. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, yeah. So, in the past, she's anchored herself to problems that she wants to solve, like saving Dinah, or fixing the city, or even saving the world from Jack. And while defeating Scion is her driving purpose right now, I think she knows that she needs anchors that will still be there after she completes that goal. It can't be Scion alone. And while she's thinking of smaller anchors to latch onto, she's also testing Doormaker's power. Honestly, going ham, learning about how she can't move the locations of the doors. They're like static in place. But as she walks around, she can quickly open and close portals constantly so that it makes it look like they're moving with her almost. And she forms them into like 3/4 circles around her, and it's sort of forming a weird mantle of power kind of thing around her, which reminds her of the time that she donned new costume pieces along with changing Skitter's role in Brockton Bay. She's reaching a new evolution point in her cape journey. After figuring out how to make the portals surround her as she moves, Taylor decides to show off a bit and make all the portals into small hexagons that can fit together into a dense lattice, opening them all over the city to extend her range. She starts to find Teacher's squads patrolling the city, and Teacher himself running things and doling out powers. Various minions are moving around in groups, coordinating and building, tinkering and such. Vic says she's always got to express herself. Yes, definitely. It's also like very impressive to Taylor, all this work and all this coordination, but she knows that this is one anthill she's going to have to kick over. Vic says, should have made them shaped like cheese. Exactly. Little Swiss cheese with holes in the portals. I'm sure nothing could go wrong. A pictogram of a can, but when you jump into the can, you teleport. And the can leads to a bean factory. Oh my god. I'm having so many ideas. The memes are unreal. Anyway. One of the things the main group is building is a new dragon craft. We also hear Teacher ask for disguise costumes to be made. And assumedly, the disguise costumes are the ones that we saw previously in the interlude when Fortuna talked to Teacher, which my assumption is that happens after this chapter does. We were just seeing a little bit into the future when we saw her perspective. Taylor notices that the people Teacher control still have like moment-to-moment volition, even though they're under his sway. This is unlike the people she catches with her power. And observing them leads Taylor to think about the thralls like they're units in some RTS game that Regent used to play. It doesn't say RTS, but it's clearly like off-brand StarCraft that she's thinking of. She's like, this weird teacher just plays Age of Empires all day. But with real people. All the squads that have been sent out seem to have like mixed power sets. They got tinkers and weapon specialists and soldiers and precogs. Other types, I'm sure. Oh, look, it's Alien. Regent doesn't have the attention span for an RTS. Well, you know, it's not me making these claims. It's Taylor who's like, it was like one of Regent's video games where he sent out some people to patrol and fight, and he has villagers in his base. It honestly sounded so much like she was saying Age of Empires. I know I said that second after StarCraft, but Like, when you say that there are villagers at the base, then, you know, you're thinking age. Vic says, Taylor has only seen one video game. Yeah, and it's Regent. Regent the game. Boop, boop, boop. So what was I saying? Oh, yes. Mixed power sets. Yes, here it is. One of the precogs realizes their squad is about to be attacked, probably sensing Taylor focusing on her, which is like a self-fulfilling prophecy, leading Taylor to take their squad. And, you know, they try and run away. The precog's like, ah! And she's able to run away from portals for a few seconds. But knowing where the portals are going to open doesn't help that much when you have an infinite or meaningfully no limit to how many portals you can open up. It's not exactly the kind of attack you can escape from. What do we got? Taylor and Regent are like acquaintances. She doesn't know what he's playing. I suppose. She's really just describing this. You know what? As silly as it is, I'm just gonna read the dang thing. I was put in mind of Regent's games. There was the base of operations, the cluster of villagers managing the city, and there were the more independent squads of people, deployed to the world beyond the base camp, patrolling for enemies, ready at a moment's notice to be gathered together in a massed attack. If we're being real, yes, the game described there is a lot more likely to have been played by the likes of Greg from high school. But she doesn't hang out with Greg from high school, so... Alien says, nah, he's playing Clash of Clans. Alright, I'll take your word for it. I've never played Clash of Clans, or even seen anyone else play Clash of Clans, so... we're putting a lot of trust in... in this all-important information. Vic says, Greg is a mere human. True, I should call him merely human Greg. It is funny, though, because the game that Greg talks about playing, Space Opera, sounds like it's like an RTS of Legend of the Galactic Heroes, where you control, like, incredibly large-scale battles. It wouldn't even necessarily, like, fit into this game mold she's describing, but anyway. Yes, so unavoidable attacks, just opening a portal within 15 feet of somebody. Vic says, well, I think he's playing Marvel Rivals. I have arrived for Greg time, says Real Greg. Yes, Real Greg, we were talking about Merely Human Greg, as his new title is. And how he probably is more likely to play an RTS than Regent. But anyway, the capture of that squad immediately sets off alarms for Teacher. He's got other thralls that notice it instantly, practically, and then he sort of orders everybody into defensive posture to figure out where their enemy is and such, and then they're able to, like, see the thing, somehow convey the information to another thrall who can speak, and then you know, Teacher knows it's Weaver, like that's the info they give, and then, like, where she is. Everything's kicking into gear in his base. They're turning on tons of devices, moving troops. I really did collapse a lot of this. There's like big full paragraphs. Anytime I say like one sentence, there's like a whole paragraph about it. Let's see here. Yeah, so Teacher starts addressing Taylor directly, trying to negotiate with her, assuming correctly that she can see in at him. Alien says, Greg gives me D&D vibes, but he can't find any people to play with. That's probably true, too. but he does play the online RTS space opera with Sveta, and she can't do it well because of the controls, and he's just he's like not having it. He's like, you just gotta keep practicing. And she's like, look, I want to play a turn-based game, not a real-time game. But he's like, no, you've got to meet up with me so we can make out. Oh, merely human Greg. Yes, so Taylor tries to use Doormaker's power to set a door near Teacher, but she finds there's some kind of barrier blocking her from opening it. And it's like something of a blind spot for the clairvoyant. But she decides to brute force this a bit and starts opening an array of portals like all around the barrier to test the edges. Teacher starts complaining that he's good and stuff and that she gotta give him a chance. That Weaver should be fighting Scion and not him. But there are people close enough to the like outer edge of the barrier perimeter that some of her doors are able to like capture them. And then the memories that sort of flood to her of this is, I thought of Tattletale, boasting to Coil in the moments before I'd pulled the trigger. Not, I reminded myself, that I'm pulling any triggers here. But I wasn't sure exactly what that was. Like, if she's saying she felt like she was about to have victory, like in that moment, like she's already secured the win here, and like that's what she's trying to say. But yeah, that's why I pulled the direct quote on that one. It's because I just wasn't sure exactly what it was indicating to us. And although she doesn't want to kill Teacher or his thralls, she needs to like shake up the situation. So she has one of them start to pull one of his grenades. She's actually operating a lot like Teacher almost immediately. Like she has the guy with the grenade hand the grenade to someone with enhanced senses. So she's like using multiple like people as like one unit. And then when Tinker Gun goes to shoot the grenade and like blast it with whatever effect, then she defends with a portal so that her newly captured squad doesn't all get fragged instantly. Teacher continues to blather, attempting to change Taylor's mind by saying he understood why she used an Endbringer against the elite. And he's openly like asking Taylor to talk with him as well. He's like, let's sit down and have a conversation. When the other thralls retreat from the ones that Taylor's taken, the barrier doesn't move. So she takes this to mean there's a device causing the effect and not a parahuman power directly. And then Teacher makes an argument that he needs to stay in control of his students because they're too sluggish at decision-making when he's not commanding them. This, of course, doesn't take into consideration that when Taylor is controlling them, they don't need to make any decisions. Teacher tries to seed curiosity into Taylor to, like, bait her into asking a question with what he's saying. But she does not ask him about his plans. And he has not yet realized she's mute. Knowing the shape and size of the invisible barrier, it's like, I don't know, Wildbow always does these great little details like this, but like the barrier is affected more if there's physical stuff between you and it. Like, any standard like signal, like a Wi-Fi that gets blocked with more and more physical barrier. So that's cool. And then she's able to, like, intuit where the device must be based on its radius and its shrunken radius through the walls. Again, all very neat. And so once she starts shooting at where she thinks the device is, like, then she hits and breaks it right away. She does like a single 3-shot like attack against it. And now there's nothing blocking the clairvoyant's power from looking in there. So Taylor sets up portals all around the room, controlling all the thralls so teacher has no way to fight back, and then steps through a portal to join him there. I gotta say, the document that I'm using, it really didn't like that I kept saying teacher. It kept being like, you mean the teacher, right? And I'm like, no, not the teacher. But, you know, it always did the blue squiggle to be like, you don't understand grammar. And I'm like, you don't understand that teacher is a name in this context. Anyway. So teacher says something that Taylor can't understands, and she like shakes her head at him to try and indicate she doesn't understand it. And like, I think we can say out of book that he assumes that she's saying no to whatever he just said. Bugs move over teacher and disarm him. He's got like a gun or a tinker gun or something, and they swipe it with the help of teacher thrall. And then he admits that he understands if this is a stick-up for tech and minions, but that he doesn't think that this is a good time to do it. He's like making a case that everything he's doing is to stop Scion, and once again trying to like make a dig at her, saying she's like the elite and stuff. And when Taylor sort of glares at him, he says something else she can't understand, which makes her worried, like, that it's some code word to activate a device or something, and then nothing happens. And then teacher is once again like perturbed by the way that she's responding to whatever he's saying. And regardless of whatever he said, since Taylor thinks he was trying to pull something, then she aims a bunch of guns at him, and you know, he's being careful. He's not trying to piss her off, but he admits that she's different from before. Interesting. You seem a lot muter than you were the last time we talked to each other. Oh, what we got? Greg says, even when it's capitalized? Weird. Yeah, no, that's what surprised me. And it's like, at first it wasn't doing it if I capitalized it and had it at the start of a paragraph. And then after it had done it a couple times mid-sentence, then it went back and put the blue thing on the other ones, even after I had told it to dismiss the complaint. It's so annoying. Vic says, I don't know why I assume every time she can't understand him, he's using some kind of idiom. Yeah, we see when she's reading his direct... Like, when we're reading direct quotes from him, we can tell that, like, words are mixed up in their ordering, and they're, like the sentences aren't fitting together right. He even says CIU, which I think the typo thread for this chapter had to have been a mess. I didn't actually go and read it, but my thought on that was that, like, there are so many intentional typos, and Wildbow naturally makes so many typos normally that... Anyway, yeah, guns aimed. Yeah, Taylor starts rummaging through Tinker Tech along with all the minions who are already doing that, with still like a few guys holding teacher up. He tries to ask her if she had a second trigger event, and this is when she's able to, communicate to him that she's mute by putting her hand over her mouth. And this, of course, leads teacher to offer his power, to give her speech or more control over her new ability within her power. And when she refuses, then starts to ignore him, he asks why she's here, which is when Taylor finds what she needs, the Tinker portal key thingy, that will let her go into, and I think she also steals his entire stock of those, like, portal jammers, or however we want to phrase it. I don't think that tech ever gets given a name, but, you know, he can, like, block worlds and stuff, which also blocks clairvoyant sight to the same places. And now that I think of it, since Cauldron more or less only opens portals with the Doormaker Clairvoyant combo, then he might not have a portal jammer at all. He might only have a Clairvoyant jammer. Huh. Guess I just hadn't thought of that until now. Seems obvious in hindsight. But, yes. She finds the jammers and the unjammer, and when she starts stealing these, Teacher asks her to leave one behind for him. She does not. After another offer of Teacher using his power to help Taylor, she walks over to take control of him. We get, memories hit me, announcing myself as Weaver in front of the PRT building, taking on the role in New Delhi, coordinating 2 teams. And then she sort of tests his power to see how it works, using it on one of his thralls. And this lets her figure out that there's no safe way to use his power on her. So, sorry, bit of a hiccup. Even if she was the one using the power, she'd still be left vulnerable to him afterward, as far as she can tell, and as far as we know reading the story. Alien says, Teacher being hella reasonable. He's just so reasonable. We should all just listen to Teacher, because of how reasonable he is. I think I feel about Teacher how you feel... Well, maybe not how you feel about the Number Man. I was going to say, like, I love to hate this guy. To me, Teacher and Jack, perfect villains. Because I hate him so much. But, like, in a fun way. I'm not upset when I'm reading this. But I am like, kick his ass, Taylor. Shove his head in the toilet. I really think she should have done more to him than what she did. She should have bit him all over with bugs just to ruin his day. Let's see here. Yeah, so, deciding on a course of action, Taylor throws her phone to Teacher and moves so he's out of her range. She could have him walk away, but she walks away from him instead. She kind of decides situation to situation which side of that coin is better. And he's again openly disappointed that she doesn't want to use his power. He's like, ooh, I know that if you wanted to use it, you would have just done it. So why are you here? And I didn't think... I said it's likely he can't tell how much insight she gained on his power by using it on the thrall, but she was able to, like, feel the power from both sides. It's probably not evident that because she can control people, she can also, like, perfectly sense through them. Like, I wouldn't necessarily leap to that conclusion, since, you know, like, for ages she couldn't see through her bugs, for example. But anyway, and you know, feeling someone's emotions and how their power feels has got to be a lot more complicated than the sight of a bug. But yeah, Taylor has him look at the phone that she threw at him, and he realizes that she's going to go after the CUI next. And then he starts, like, explaining and going on and on about why he gave them the tech and how he thought it would calm things down. But Taylor's not really listening to him, and while this is happening, she's making, like, final selections for which people and Tinker Guns to take with her. Getting everybody all decked out, and only really wanting to bother with, like, the most useful people. Because it sounds like there's, like, loads and loads of people here, but she only leaves with 20 of them. Teacher tells her which of the devices will let her break into the world the CUI went to and cut off from portals / the clairvoyant. He makes another weird plea to Taylor, trying to tell her that he's working against Scion. Taylor flat out doesn't believe him based on things he was making. She thinks that it's like an infiltration of some kind, and it definitely won't help against Scion. And she's like, "Oh, fuck this guy." And she points left, which I think she basically gets him to start swiping on the phone, but he swipes over to another page that she had open. He only seems to have had 3 pages open, one for teacher, one for the CUI, and one for the birdcage. Um, and so he's telling her that he hasn't blocked off the birdcage or anything, but that there are defenses set up for it. This is another spot, if I'm remembering right. Let me look at the actual part, because he says a sentence where I'm pretty certain that the words are obvious mix-em-ups. He says, there are security placements in measure. Yeah, I feel certain that what he really told her was that there are security measures in place. Yeah, I think her brain is like translating words all bonkers because she complains that he's using the wrong words and really fancy words for stuff. Anyway, boop boop boop. So yeah, Taylor decides to take another step in the sort of all-in direction and direct connects herself to the clairvoyant. Another quote here we got. My awareness started to unfold, a slow, steady, gradual process. I was aware of vast tracts of land. I could see the damage done to Earth Bet. It disoriented me to see how we were in Washington, not New York. Teacher had returned home. Why had I thought we were in New York? She was in Seattle the whole time! She's got so little awareness that she can't tell the difference between Seattle and New York. What a fool. But yes, the new awareness leaves Taylor feeling even further from herself than before when she was just divided between all those people and bugs. Thinking back to when she used her bugs to ground herself, she's like, sees that this is different and she's not really able to get any comfort from it, seeing the world at this scale. I think this part's really cool too and enables so much like weird stuff that I think really solidifies the ending and all the stuff they can do in these last few chapters now that she's linked up to the clairvoyant. I could sense the entirety of the world, from atmosphere to ocean floor. I could, if I wanted to listen for it, hear the wind, the patter of rain, see the shimmers of heat on one side of the planet, and the frost forming in caves on the other side of the planet, day and night at the same time. Yeah, that's wild. I imagine that if this were like put to screen, you like the way I would do it would kind of be like a small montage of the stuff that she just thought of, kind of in the way of the Hitchhiker's Guide movie, where right at the end, when they sort of have recreated the Earth in the end of the movie, then everything is still time stopped and it's just about to start up again, and it's sort of like montages to all these points around the world, and like you see a bird start beating its wings and stuff. That movie's pretty good, actually. I know it's not like the book, but the book ain't like the radio play, so we can't complain too much. And the book and the radio play are both not like the show, which is also not like the movie. Every version can be different for Hitchhikers. It's fine. An alien saying only ever played the adventure game. Right, yeah. Well, suffice to say that they're all similar to each other, and they all have the same sort of initial core cast, but that all the versions are, like, wildly different in the specifics. I think the radio stuff they did after there were like 5 books is much closer to the books, so I think those two versions are probably the least divergent. But I don't know enough to be certain. I've never done a whole ass stream looking at chapters of Hitchhikers. Anyway, boop, 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 we are at teacher starts talking to her, but she's not listening because of the new clairvoyant awareness distracting her. Now Taylor is observing all the damage to the different worlds, looking at those who are still fighting. She mentions that like not even 20% are still fighting, but everyone who's fighting is like going hard in the paint. They're doing their best. And she sees those who have left to go take shelter. She looks and sees groups of humans have been spread to as many worlds as possible by Cauldron to try to keep humanity going. We obviously saw this take place in like Arc 24 when they had all those underground people that were below the behemoth fight who they just like dumped through a bunch of portals. And then what was I gonna say? Yeah, when she stops focusing on something, it stays in her like peripheral awareness. So she maintains some amount of consciousness staring at the entire world within each parallel world. It's kind of a lot. It's like, you know, I've tried to put myself in the like what would that awareness be like, and I think it's a little too alien. Like I can put myself sort of in the brain space of Taylor controlling several people and like feeling the multi emotion and feeling like multi perspective, but with the clairvoyant I'm like that's so much further away from my like mental capacity of experience that I can't really like I can conceptualize it on like a story level, but not in like a me as her level. Oh, Alien says the dimension stuff has to be more relevant to Ward, right? Some would say so. Indeed. Um, but as Tattletale would point out, and as I try to say correctly, although I'm sure I've slipped up on it, uh, they're like parallel Earths, not alternate dimensions. Tattletale's insistent that this is a meaningful distinction in during Ward. So, let's see here. What were we doing? Yes. So there are blind spots for the clairvoyant, and there are a few places that Taylor refuses to look. She can't stand the thought of looking at Gru and seeing him with Cozen, and at the end of her little look around, she, decides she can't bring herself to look for and confirm her suspicion that Danny is gone. So she looks through and sees all her friends. She sees Charlotte, Forrest, Sierra, Lisa, Rachel, Amy by proxy because Amy was next to Rachel, Aisha, Saba, and Lily. It's not the longest list. And she does not look at any of her homies from Chicago. Golem, unimportant. Tecton, never heard of him. Cuff, no one's ever heard of her. Anyway, and then she says, all the people I cared about. The things I wanted to hold on to, no matter what. Oh, I didn't pull it out here, but Scion lobbed a stray shot that would have like fragged the Lisa, Rachel, Amy group had she not closed the door beforehand. And by closing the door, it also meant that the building that the door was presumably blocking also got blowed up with 6 people in it. But 6 people is a small price to pay to save Lisa, Rachel, and Amy. Vic says, literally, Golem is so... I don't know why she doesn't care about him at all. I'll shake my head. Yeah, it's rough. She has a pretty short list of friends. And let me see. Yeah, Taylor's able to turn the clairvoyant's attention to Scion and finds that he's not a blind spot. Tattletale had suspected that Cauldron had been lying about that, and she was right. They didn't want to lead him back to the world they were viewing from, which still kind of ridiculous. But Alien says, I think the wards were more her coworkers. No? Well, yes, but she did live with them and was on a team with them for several years, and she went on plenty of adventures, and we saw them talking and laughing together even early on, so they didn't have a rocky relationship. Vic says Golem was her protege from her own hometown. I kind of feel like if Annex was still alive, that she might have checked back in on them. Because, I got the weird sense that her and Annex got along really well. The way that he was talking to her when she was training with Golem, and the way... I don't know, just some of the interactions made me... the way she thought about his death. And she, was mentally lingering on when Annex had died. It just seemed like another cut cord. They were also really good together in the field, both in the Behemoth arc and then when they're doing the stakeout with Cuff. Annex is really on the same page with her, it seems and he's there's friction between her and Cuff, but there's none between those two. Vic also said, and she sees them as generally good people. Yeah. Everyone except for Cuff. Lol, the coward. She's so hard on Cuff. So, yes. Oh, yeah, the thing I pulled out here was, when I looked, I saw him screaming. And then it talks about how the man who only spoke 2 previous times is screaming like he's being tortured. And he's still winning. He's shredding all opposition. Just freaking out. You know what? I think it's funnier if the scream is very unflattering. Because he's he's doing this for himself. He's not yelling out to impress anyone. So it would be really funny if he's my dog is deaf now, so her barks sound stupider than it did when she could hear herself, and I kind of get the feeling Scion might sound like an idiot. Alien says, I always imagine the Wilhelm scream. Yeah, definitely. It's the classic in all the movies scream. I feel like there's a new sound clip, and I can't exactly describe it, but there's a new scream that, to my mind, could become Wilhelm Scream 2.0. I've just been hearing it in some movies and prestige TV and being they're using a soundboard sound? Alien says he probably does it in one key too. Yeah, maybe it just stays the same. Maybe he's screaming like a Ferengi from Deep Space Nine. Ah! 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 Alien says like a bruh sound? I'm not sure. But, oh, yeah. Taylor notices that teacher is still trying to talk to her, and so Taylor leaves without saying goodbye, which I find funny, personally. She's bursting down the doors to the world the CUI went to, having, linked herself with the clairvoyant. She has the clairvoyant grab the skeleton key tinker device that was described by a teacher, and then when he uses it, then that's when they're able to see into the CUI world. And then this is when she sees they have like 300 million people on their world. After they got through, they just started people like physically walking away from each other to like spread out. The Cauldron plan, don't let Scion blow up too many of us at once. Of course, this is always like, there's always a caveat on that like, and maybe the audience doesn't fully comprehend this yet, but like, as people who have read the book, we know Scion could in fact do a big like Omni attack that hits all parallel Earths at the same time, because that's what he was intending to do for the basic end of life cycle like burst thing. Alien says, always wanted more CUI stuff. Yeah, me too, really. It's got like a really interesting thing with them being connected up and sharing the powers and stuff through those sort of key parahumans. So Ziggurats made a building to like make a palace for the Imperial family, and there's it's giant because it's being made by a high-powered wall-making parahuman. Then she sees the Yangban. This description, 3 groups of 60 to 130 capes arranged on broad square platforms. Like, I don't know why, I just don't like that specific line. Like, there's only 3 numbers, and one of them is 60, one of them is 130, and one of them is in between those numbers. I get that he just wanted to be able to estimate when he was writing that line, probably, especially because I've heard from Wildbow say in interviews, like, he's not good with numbers in his head. So, like, some of these, like, numbery segments, I kind of think he, like, goes back to specific tricks that he's decent with, like, when he's talking about sort of fractions of groups feeling different ways, like, that's something he goes to a lot, and this just feels like another one of those little writing techniques to get past being bad with numbers that, to me, and I don't complain about this book very often. I think I'm very complimentary, but it just leaves me going like, what? When it's 3 groups of 60 to 130. Oh yeah, then Alien said, the whole international politics of the world aren't delved into nearly enough. Vic says, don't forget Taylor is terrible at estimations. That's true, too. Taylor is terrible at estimating things. Alien, I totally agree that I wish we could see more, like, different cultures. But I will say that in Ward, they, like, kind of backfill and talk about what Russia's Cape scene was like. Not going crazy into depth, but basically we learn about as much about them as we ever did about, like, the hot and cold capes in India. And then we also get to see some, like, completely fictional societies that have, like, one of them in particular has, like, a really, really different society to ours, and I kind of thought that was, like, one of the highlights of the book. Because, like, it just brings in way more of, like, a sci-fi element to have these human cultures that are so different from anything in real life. Or, I mean, even if they're not that different from anything in real life, they're so far outside my experience, I couldn't, like, link them back to anything. Which, sometimes that's enough for a sci-fi book. They don't need to... it's like how Elvish is based off Finnish, because nobody's going to speak Finnish. Yeah, so the Yangban are in their sort of normal get-ups, except that with the gem masks, these squads have white, purple, and yellow for their 3 squads. You know, a bunch of them are injured, potentially from, like, fighting Scion, but most likely from going out and wrecking up other people's shit. The leadership behind the CUI is not very pragmatic with... I mean, in a way they're pragmatic. They're like, oh, we want to boost up our own shit and we don't care about other people. But, you know, by the Taylor estimation of, like, if we don't pool all our resources to fight Scion, we're fucked, then I think they're not being pragmatic. And they're just, you know, fighting other parahumans for the most part. And then there's some power or, like, tinker device that is creating, like, a kaleidoscope effect for the main room that the key members of the royal family are in, as well as, like, all of the top tier Yang Band guys who are wearing green masks. There's, like, 30 unidentified Yang Band people, as well as I'm gonna say it wrong. I'll just keep saying Ziggurat. So as well as Ziggurat, and then Null, and what's the other one? It's I know how their powers work, but I forget their... Oh, it's Null 1 and 2. Those are the 3 core Yang Band members. Because, you know, they're numbered. I should have remembered that. But yeah, they're the people who divide up the powers, give them back to the squads, and then the one who, by dint of having the power that soups up all the other powers, is able to have them share powers at a, like, without reducing the effectiveness. They say instead of having 60 powers at 1/60th of the power, they have 60 powers at 1/5 of the power. Which obviously, like, if you lost any one of those 3, then you couldn't really do the Yang Band strategy. So yeah, they got, like, a child emperor. He's, like, 14. His sister's there, along with some family members. This is when we're sort of reminded that the Seamerg's attack on that plane, Flight BA-178, during the time skip arc, during Arc 25, was to kill off one of the members of the royal family, the older brother who had been the previous emperor. And then, they've got, like, a strategist guy there. You know, they've got all these people. But then the kaleidoscope effect is, of course, to stop all kinds of parahuman attacks, be they teleportation, be they, like, remote attacks, what have you. And then... she realizes that as soon as she begins her attack on them, just like with Teacher, they will counterattack and they'll try to swarm her as much as they can. And like I was talking about on the previous stream for 30.2, I really feel like Taylor is specifically going for networked capes first. Again, the 3 core targets of the networked capes being Teacher, the Yang Band, and then, although it's a network of 1, Dragon. And then, you know, Taylor makes sure she's not being overconfident. She wants to, like, be sure that 200 parahumans or so can't, like, totally wipe her out by some power she doesn't anticipate. Oh yeah, this is when the stray attack goes through and she closes the portal. The way that this is written, it says boop, boop, boop. It says, Tattletale muttered something under her breath. Panacea said something I couldn't make out. Two of my favorite people in the world almost wiped out without a chance to even know it was coming. And we can know from context clues from earlier that she meant Tattletale and Rachel, who is also in that scene, are two of her favorite people. Or we can let the shippers go wild and let Vic's OTP be real. Amy is now classified under one of the people who's two of her favorite people in the world. Yeah, Vic says, no, Amy is her two favorite people. Yeah. Lisa's not considered among them. Amy gets double seating. Why are there two Amy's here? And then, you know, she goes back over. She takes another look around at all of her friends, then looks at Scion. And she's like realizing she can't waste time thinking about this too much, and forces herself to act. Well, first she forces herself to relax, then forces the attack. She opens a bunch of portals all at once, all to different worlds that she can reach, and then begins gathering like ridiculous quantities of bugs. She quotes that she had once heard there were 10 quintillion bugs on Earthbet. 18 zeros. She says, I couldn't control that many. Or to be precise, I couldn't afford the time to collect that many. Yeah, you got to take that back, girl. You probably could control that many. If you set up a crazy enough portal network. And enough relay bugs. But then she says, 14 zones? If I had a dozen worlds, each with really good swamps and rainforests to tap into, my relay bugs to help extend my pitiful 300-foot range, that was doable. And so, yeah, she decides she doesn't have too much time to think this through. She gets her ridiculous massive attack ready, and then she divides it into, like, different groups. I think one of the bug groups is with her, and then the other 9 go through portals into the Yangban's world. And then, you know, they start getting counterattacked instantly. All these different powers are being deployed. People are moving out. But when they, like, try to go to the bugs, it's just so dense, and she's just immediately, like, eating people alive, just, like, right at the start. And, like, as she's eating the people alive, she's also having Tinker gunned minions shoot the shit out of them. So these people are not having a good time. And then you know, she's capturing people with the group who she can't attack with the bugs, and she's making a bunch of headway. Then she thinks of this Bakuda quote. Usually when she thinks of these, like, moments where she's hearing past quotes of her memories, they don't have, like, quotation marks around them. But these ones do. It's the, if you little fucks had any sense, you'd know that getting the upper hand on me, just for a moment, it's something you should be fucking terrified of. Oh, the ineffectual little girl with the bug costume is awake? And I know that's all through a robot hissing voice, but I've never been good at robot hissing. Vic says, should have ate teacher alive. I actually think she should have killed teacher. That's one thing. Like, I unironically definitely think that. But given that she didn't, she should have bit him all over with bugs, so he was covered in bug bites at the very least. She shouldn't have let him get off scot-free like he did. Yeah, so she's having these memories. She even thinks of, she goes, what would my mom think to see me now? Which I didn't look up to see exactly where that quote was from, but I can assume it's from, like, A, the bank robbery, B, the time that she was, like, going to go all out and kill the Slaughterhouse Nine, or C, when she was what was it? It's one of the other Brockton Bay chapters. I think it's when she has already been confronted emotionally by Tag and is going. It's before she goes to her mom's grave, but while she's thinking about it. So I'm pretty sure it's from one of those 3 sections. And then, yeah, she captures more and more groups of Yangban. They're still trying to hold her off, like the Ziggurat's closing everything up, and then, you know, she's sort of picking them apart piece by piece, and she's feeling like the collected anger of all these various people she's stealing. And then she thinks some stuff like, fuck them for not cooperating, fuck it all, I shouldn't have had to go this far, which is probably true in general. And then they try to break into, like, the kaleidoscopic area, and then you know, there's all sorts of, like, trap rooms, because there's like 9 mirrored rooms, and all but one of them is a fake with, like, crazy bugs. I do find it funny that she's like, and ironically, poisonous bugs. So one of them was the bug death room, which would have had no effect on Taylor. And then they're attacking all these various walls to bust in and figure out which portion is the real deal. And then another group of Yangban is in one of them. It's the Red Mask style people, any Red Masks who were left, which we know that group got fucking wrecked during the Arc 24 stuff. Behemoth killed a bunch of them, and so these are kind of leftovers. And then, yeah, she's got all them, and once she's got all the Yangban, then, like, all the fighting stops, and then she adds the key members to her group. And then once she has collected 0, 1, and 2, then she feels the memory of how she felt killing Alexandria. They hated me for my arrogance, for what I was. And then, you know, they've got 2's power refracting all the powers through the Yangban, and then the power boost that 2 was giving gives her a boost to her control. And so she starts experimenting, just making sure she can move people about how she wants. And then it says, not as perfect as if it were my own hand back when I had full control over it, but better. So now she can control people at the level that she used to control bugs, is basically what I'm getting from that. And she's not going to share 2's power around like they had been doing to form the Yangban group. She's just going to apply it to herself because it's so important that she gains that, like, full ability to control people. Obviously, when she's fighting Scion, it's going to be like moment to moment. You could die any second kind of thing. So she doesn't have time for delays. Um, and then Shen Yu tries to speak to Taylor, and Taylor's like, "That doesn't sound like Chinese, but I can't understand what's being said." And it's like, "Oh no, the dots are starting to collect. You may not know what English sounds like anymore." Alien says, "Doesn't one of them give her like a better understanding of her power?" I I think two would. I think that increased control kind of amounts to the same thing. Maybe. Um, if you're thinking of something else, maybe I'm not connecting what you're saying exactly. But I think that she gains the understanding that you're describing from that control. But boop boop boop. So she's got 5 layers of portals around her now. She says 5 layers of overlapping hexagons. I had my army, but it wouldn't be enough. On to the birdcage, I thought. And then she, opens a bazillion portals, moves everybody through, and then she's found herself at a place that was like partially destroyed by Scion's, like, what do you call it, the collateral damage when he wasn't really fully aiming at it. So there's she realizes that she's in the wrong place. She wanted to go to the birdcage, the jail, but she accidentally went to Gardner, the jail that she had stayed in. And then she's like, ugh, I'm still losing my mind. And then she goes for it again, and she realizes, okay, now I'm at a mountain, and then also that like her body isn't doing super well. She had been like overheating because of the bugs, and then only even notices because like her sweat is evaporating off her, and she's too cold now on the mountain. But yeah, she's like questioning if she should have like anchored part of her focus on her body the whole time, and I think there's clear regret in the way that she's been handling the last hour. And then even when she tries to really focus on her body, it just feels so far away and so little given how many people she's controlling. She's looking around. She sees all her surrounding people that she brought here by kind of unconscious thought. We've noticed that too. Since she has gained the power to control humans, a lot of how she controls them is a less conscious and specific than the way she controls bugs. Normally, because it even happens to the bugs. Like when she accidentally attacks Amy with wasps in 30.1, she didn't like want to do that. Yes. So then, she's thinking about who's left in the birdcage and tries to open a portal near one, and then immediately containment foam seals that prisoner that she's trying to grab where they are, and then she knows Dragon is working against her, and instead of trying to further her attack or anything, she waits to see what's going to happen. And she sees with the clairvoyance power Dragon coming, and she's in one of those fast-moving suits, like when you see her in the Leviathan chapter and the PRT break-in chapter, or arcs, I should say. Dragon's there, aiming all her weapons at Taylor, etc. But when Dragon speaks to Taylor in a very clear voice, Taylor realizes, oh no, Shen Yu and teacher and dragon are all speaking the same incomprehensible language, English. Um, and this is devastating to her. She fucking starts shaking around with how, like, she's so emotionally devastated that she can't keep from wobbling about. I know I've seen Vic shake with anger before. I bet this was a lot worse than that, though. um, and then, her Vic says, Pig Latin strikes again. Yeah. I can't even, like, my brain, I can hear Pig Latin and know what someone's saying, but I can't craft the sentence as my brain goes. So I can't do it unless I pre-write down whatever the hell I'm trying to say. It it doesn't seem like that hard a skill, but my brain's just like, nope, refusal. That's not happening. We're not speaking Pig Latin today. And yeah, Taylor, only her burning rage continues her journey. She feels like so upset with herself and the world, and um, she's like in many of her unhinged moments. She starts sort of. It says, "I found myself chuckling a little." I feel like that happens a lot. Like, if Taylor's smiling or laughing in costume, something horribly bad is happening. Everything's gone wrong. Alien says, Taylor actively sane washing herself as she's losing her mind. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so she says, I couldn't stop it, even as I tried to pull myself together. And as she's like trying to stop herself from laughing, she's also full crying. And Dragon is concerned now. And then Taylor's thinking like, what an injustice for me in this situation to have to take down Dragon. This is so unfair to me. No, but she's upset. She thinks the most decent damn person I'd ever met, and she wasn't even human. She was the only person who was definitely still alive who'd help me without an iota of selfishness. Yeah, sad. I couldn't negotiate my way out of this. Even with the rapport we'd established, I couldn't trust her to give me the benefit of a doubt. As much as I didn't want to, I knew that the only way forward would be to destroy her. This is so unfair to me, Taylor! Yeah. This is sad. I don't even necessarily disagree with Taylor's course of action here. But, I don't know. It's sucky. Alien says, when does he even figure out she's an AI/robot? I always forget. Assuming that he was supposed to be a she and you met Taylor, Taylor finds out that Dragon's an AI at the beginning of Arc 28 when the Undersiders plus Canary go to speak with Defiant and Narwhal with Saint present. And Tattletale tells the room to take the wind out of the sails of Saint, who's trying to be like, you don't even know! She's secretly an AI! And Lisa's just like, I don't give a single fuck. So that's when. Anyway, for my final chapter thoughts, I thought that it's really cool to see Teacher's power from the perspective of Taylor controlling him, because it even feels different than when we're like on an interlude and characters are thinking about their own powers. She's feeling it from both sides of the connection between Teacher and the Thrall. It's like pretty neat. Oh yeah, Vic says it right. Tattletale outs once again. Tattletale's a terrible ally. Um, Even though Tattletale herself is part of the queer community, she is quite cruel to her fellows. um, anyway, I also thought the way Teacher's speech slowly degrades, and it seems like he's making weird, like verbal mistakes, was done well. It becomes obvious in hindsight what's going on, that it's a partial version of Taylor losing her ability to understand English. I just think it's really well done. I think it rules. This chapter's pretty cool. I like the fight with the Yangban, but it did feel like, and I don't think this is a negative, I think it's fine. That fight felt like I was so sure that Taylor was going to win and have like an unconditional victory like she did. Um, yeah, she ate up a few Yangbands from a single group with bugs, but she captured everybody else. Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's just like something in me knew at the time I was listening to that bit that like she's gonna be fine. She's gonna snap up all these people, and then she's just gonna be that much more powerful. Um, so I kind of think that's good because it's like, on one hand, like a lot of times you want a fight to keep you guessing or whatever, but I just thought the tone was right because she's in the build up phase of Katamari. Is if this were the Katamari 1,000 meters, roll up a star 5 from We Love Katamari, she would be at the part where she's, first able to start picking up pieces of the land. Capes themselves were like buildings, and she piled up some buildings, and now she's like grabbing up little islands and stuff. She's on her way to being the largest Katamari that there ever was. Um, any other chapter thoughts? For whatever reason, I think of this chapter as being short, but it's because there aren't like that many total events, but each thing that happens is really dense. Um, it's weird. It's weird. It just sort of snaps right by when I'm listening to it. Uh, Arc stuff. Obviously, yeah, another great chapter in like building up the blocks. In the first chapter Taylor was in, she could barely sort of control other people, flop around stuff. She gained some skill while she was doing her initial little fight with Scion. She clearly, like in this like takeover of Teacher, gains like lots of insight to how her power works, how sussing out new powers works. I even think it probably gave her a boost to be taking over so many people with such direct and basic powers like all of the thralls, because it's just like, she's getting some easy practice in. So I think that's really like a neat aspect as well. I guess I'll probably talk about that more in the powers section, but for characters, I put Teacher / Trickster, unnamed, but there, / Swarm. So I'm calling his people his thrall. I'll call them thralls. They get to be Swarm when they're under Taylor. And then let's see here. Yes, I pulled this quote. Tinker Group H, Teacher said. Defensive measures. Modify them for micro-scale drones. Force fields, area attacks. Group N, to me. We'll need more Tinkers on this problem. We'll also need to this, he says, we'll also need to this area. Groups F and J, I'll recalibrate. Put you on more general anti-clairvoyance duty. You're looking in, aren't you, Weaver? And then, this other part. These people who'd taken his promise of a lifetime of power, no strings attached, had been misled. Yeah, he's just openly lying to people. Teacher himself is the trickster. Yeah, Teacher's like a classic, like, Faustian demon, I think. Alien says, damn, they should not have let this guy out if he's this competent. Yeah, I agree. They had to agree to let Teacher out because of, like, Saint controlling the birdcage with his, or like not giving them access to the birdcage, right? It's something like that, because he had already like stolen Dragon systems at the time. Oh, Alien says, number one teacher, Glazer. Oh, Teacher. I think that at the end they should have taken this guy out while he was still stuck in the birdcage. I do think he's overall just way more of a detriment than he is a help to the cause against Scion. Like, I think that probably the thing he did that was the most useful is be a little training scenario for Taylor in this chapter. Like, her taking him apart and controlling his people is probably the most helpful thing he did for other people in this whole scenario. And aside from that, he's been like just detrimental, like stealing one of the worlds, giving the CUI the opportunity to do the same thing. Like, his whole claim is like, I thought that it would be better in the long run, and it's like, better for you, dipshit. Alien says, I don't know, I think he could have figured it out. Well, I will, choose to believe differently. And then I put Ziggurat, Yangban, Royal Family. They are generally, I didn't put Shen Yu, but also Shen Yu. They are also generally pretty fucking upset. They're like, what the fuck? We're just trying to build up our sick-ass palace. Why are you coming here and attacking us? And as described earlier, they feel the outrage of a Taylor on the edge of murder. A lot of capes when she connects to them. Like, the first thing's like, oh yeah, I thought of that one, one of the like 3 or 4 times that I ultra killed someone. It's almost like they wanted to ultra kill me. Interesting. Alien says, they're just upset because she's doing their bit more effectively. Yeah, sometimes I do think that these people, like, whether or not they have obvious, like, bigger motivations, they do have small, petty motivations of, like, damn it, she outdid me. Which I think is pretty realistic. I really do think, even in the real world, when, like, big political events will happen, and I've been saying this kind of recently, but, like, there'll be these people who are so, like, real politique brained that they can't fathom the idea that people are just like leaders of countries. Some of them are just acting on emotion and like doing dumb shit because they're just like lashing out. But it's like, I don't know, that just seems obvious that you fail upwards enough and you believe that you can get away with anything and just do whatever and still win, even though it's not that easy. And Taylor kind of has a sentiment that sort of dovetails with what I was just saying, where it's like, once she's captured the main Yangban, she's like, these people had arrogantly been building up power using other sources, and now that I've like dismantled it, they're fucked. Anyway. Yeah, I guess I don't have that much to say about the overall CUI people. I think the scene where they get battled and defeated is really like interesting. Like the way I imagine it is quite dynamic, and it's a really cool fight. It shows Taylor's like ridiculously quickly growing powers. And indeed, as she does not fuck this up like she was worried about. Um, I put Dragon on her own line. Very sad. She's gonna have to fight Dragon. Dragon is sad and concerned. The gentleness giving way to concern, as it says. She's like, ooh, Taylor. It's only been like 20 more minutes, but you look fucking terrible. And you can't speak English. You know what? I'm realizing again that current Taylor has all the same qualities as Dan Santa from Santa University. His main traits are looks like shit and can't read. And current Taylor looks like shit and can't read. Alien says, I've mentioned this before, but Arc 30 is an inverse of Arc 20. I like the sound of this. Do you have any more to flesh that out? And I do remember you saying this in the past, but hit me with more deets while I go over some of these other characters. I am going to move on from Dragon. We're going to be, obviously next chapter we're going to talk about her quite a lot. We get the brief mention of Saba and Lily. They're not currently fighting. They're in a downbeat moment where they're taking a break. This has been a continuous fight for like 4 or 5 days now, so you gotta take it in shifts. Alien says, with her control of the students, it's like the total opposite of what she does with her power. Oh yeah, that's true. And I think it's really good foreshadowing for this because her power was supposed to go to her dad. And her dad found camaraderie with the Union and with the docks. And he was able to lead people and essentially do the kind of mass planning, everybody in the right place kind of stuff, but with people with no powers. And so she was kind of enacting his skills that she had seen him do and then built up her own separate version of. Again, very much like a budded shard, and I know the power jumped from him to her, so it's not like a shard bud, but I mean narratively, character-wise, the way that she is interacting with people in Arc 20 is like the way he is able to gain the trust of the people with the docks. Because we know he's not just in charge because he's in charge. The people there follow him because they trust him, kind of thing. Let's see here. Alien says, with her control of the students, it's like the total opposite of what she does with her power. Control like that is just an overall thing in the book. With Regent and Teacher, others too. Yeah, and we get pretty early on in 30.1 that her control over people, as soon as we realize she has it, is super close to Regent's control. And yeah, so her current control is Regent's control, but the way she interacted with those students was a partial teacher style move. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, so I guess Perry and Foyle are still at the battle. They're just not fighting. They're running around on a stuffed animal around the perimeter. And then we've got the Brian, Cozen, Danny contingent, which we don't know how they're doing because Taylor wouldn't look at them. Interesting. Sierra, which I guess says more about Taylor's mindset than it does about them. But Sierra, Charlotte, and Forrest. I pulled out this quote here. It was, "I found Sierra being very authoritarian and intimidating as she ordered refugees around. She gave off an oddly familiar impression." And then I wrote my own dialogue here, which is, "I learned it from you!" Sierra to Taylor, probably. Again, like, the way that Sierra controls the people that she's in charge of is like the way that Taylor controlled the people in her territory, which again is like an altered version of like the way that Danny interacted with the people at the docks. I really do feel like this is like a lineage being handed down. Like, Taylor's shard budded and Aiden got a power from her power. But even in a non-powers, non-parahuman sense, Sierra still basically got like an offshoot power, like power in quotes, not a alien power, but a version of Taylor's way of control that is effective and that without ever consciously thinking about it, she like attained this skill by working with Taylor. I think there's a lot to that and the passing down of powers and stuff. Charlotte and Forrest are mentioned, but it does not say what they're doing at all. Sierra gets the highlight on that one. Then we get Rachel, Aisha, Lisa, and Amy. The only one I pulled out a quote for was Imp, because I think that this is a really good bit. It was, Imp was giving somebody CPR. Unlike the movies, most CPR attempts weren't successful. Her patient was probably already dead, but she kept trying. Ages ago, Gru hadn't been able to get her to take the first aid class. It's so funny that she was so focused on that, because at the time that she was telling Aisha, like, I can't believe you haven't taken first aid classes, Aisha had had her power for less than 1 week, I think. Because it was like, or no, it was 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks when they were apart as a group. But it's like, you know, still a very short amount of time. It's like, yes, you know, in this destroyed city that has no like working services, you need to spend all of your time getting first aid classes. And it's just like, when would she have had the time yet, Taylor? Tell me. Too hard on Aisha. Rachel, all we know is that Rachel was near Amy. Lisa and Amy were murmuring. Amy is two of Taylor's favorite people. And then the last section I have here on this little characters bit was Taylor, Doormaker, Clairvoyant, Swarm. Obviously, we get no characterization from Doormaker and Clairvoyant. They don't even evoke memories. I think that they're, like, empty vessel enough of people that, like, their emotions are not striking Taylor the way other people's do. And then, I guess the Clairvoyant of it all, Taylor decided, like, she's going super all in because she thinks if she gets separated from the Clairvoyant, and she's likely right, that she would be knocked out from the like sensory change for long enough that the fight, either she would be dead or the fight in some other way would be over. Like other people taking her down while she was insensate or whatever. And, you know, Taylor's getting desperate. She's losing her mind. She keeps forgetting where she is or who she's near. She stops listening to people. Even when she still can listen to English, she's just like, I don't care what this guy's saying. And she gives up one of her last chances to ever hear someone speak. I think that's one of the great tragedies of this chapter, actually, is that the last person Taylor is ever able to listen to English from is goddamn annoying teacher. Yeah. Terrible last conversation. I don't know. I feel like I have gone over Taylor's emotions and stuff so much during the chapter summary that I'm not going to go back over everything. The most important bit is she can't face the loss of Danny and look for him, etc. She's just like openly acknowledging, like, yeah, I was too weak for that. Nah, I'm not doing that. For powers, knowledge, and world building, we've got this quote here. I found myself altering the portals, reconfiguring them. I draped myself in them like I did in a costume. They formed a loose 3/4 circle around me. Doormaker and the Clairvoyant, at first, around me, Doormaker, and the Clairvoyant. At first, a cylinder with an opening in front of me. When I turned my head, they reconfigured, the portals in my way disappearing, replaced by others. To streamline the portal creation, I layered them, 2 half-circles, overlapping. And then, because it was the most compact way to fit the portals together, because I needed to make a signature, to make this mine, to make it me, I made them hexagons. A honeycomb, interlocking of small 1-foot diameter doorways, opening up to random points throughout the city, extending my range further than even my bugs could manage. Each one showed a different image when I looked through. A wall, a section of overcast sky, a bit of pavement. It didn't stand out, serving more as a kind of camouflage. Yeah, I thought all that bit was great. Really cool, fun stuff. And what do we got? Yeah, just this bit where she's thinking about teacher and she's like, he had a project in the works and his students were busy scavenging. A different sort of control than I had, with my bugs or with the people in my sway. More human, maybe. A society, rather than an army of troops gathered in formations. And then later on the same idea, same people, she thinks, it's like a computer. Every person carries out a specific operation, and they're gathered in clusters with people who can communicate those ideas to others in efficient ways. And then thinking about using her relay bugs to gather people, she says, my relay bugs didn't work either. They only worked on bugs. So what I'm hearing is that Amy needs to make her a relay person to relay the signal better. It's so obvious. And I, of course, before we're done with this chapter, wanted to talk about the Yangban section. I didn't want to sum up the fight too heavily, I didn't want to include too many of the details and just be reading the chapter, but I thought that it was so cool, the defenses they have set up and how they try to, jump through and fight her and how she, just keeps taking fools out and taking fools over. Yeah. Taylor's awesome. Her being this, adept and stuff does feel it feels to me like it's super earned because she's been, fighting so hard and struggling for so long, and she's just, in every scenario, got, so much grit, and now that she's got this, higher level of power, but all these drawbacks and downsides, she's still able to, push through all that negative stuff and really, just shine here, so. She's awesome. Yangban, also cool. Not as cool as Taylor. So the audience participation question for 30.3 is, if you could use Doormaker's power to jump around an abandoned Earth, what place would you want to visit? And the 2 answers I got, Vic said, the lost city of Atlantis, obviously. And Greg said, I'd pick some particularly scenic mountaintops, gorgeous views, don't have to worry about heat or air because of portals. extra points if I can find enough of a depression to dump some hot spring water for a nice soak while I'm up there. Yeah, and you totally could, because you could like cascade it right out of a another hot spring right to where you are, and have it come out just a few feet above, so it just like really fills up. Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. I think I would open like portals high up in the air and poke my head out to look around. That's something I'd do. Um, Alien says there's this packaged Stanny chicken place called Namkeem. If I had portal powers, I'd be there right now. Hell yeah. Um, you know, food's a decent choice. One difficulty is that if Scion had already attacked Earth, you may not have any people manning the restaurant. It may have been impractical for them to stay. Perhaps they do not have power to the various cooking implements. Yeah, I'd be poking my head out all over the place. I'd be looking at New Zealand. I'd be looking. I'd be over the savannas in Africa, being like, "Is there any zebras still down there? Did Scion kill all the zebras?" I tend to think zebras are pretty cool. Alien says, I'd be hella hungry if I was Taylor. Her passenger should get her a sandwich or something. Yeah, yeah. She's even talking about how she feels worn out right before the end of the chapter. She's like, ooh, I feel terrible. So I didn't have a written out question for the next one, but last two times I was able to snap one in my mind during the thing, being under the pressure of being on a constant stream. Alien says, yeah, she's fighting God on an empty stomach. Yeah, it's a problem. What could I ask? Oh yeah, and when I was mentioning the Cape networks of networks she wants to take over, the final network that I forgot to mention on this list was Glastigwenye, who has the network of like shadows or however specters, whatever they're called. And then what can I say? Are there any good... Maybe what's an example of another work of fiction that oh, how do you think they'd adapt this chapter for the screen, like as the next one, or are you asking me that? I kind of feel like I want to ask a question that's like, what's another work of fiction where a character loses their mind like this? But I'm not thinking of a good way to word it. I am just going to come up with the question by next time, and the people will, whoever is listening, will get to hear the question at the top of the next stream. But I am going to replay the speed draw and the song and get the hell out of here. Oh, also minor announcement, I guess. I intend to I intend to have one extra episode of the stream after Worm, but before we begin to read Glowworm, which is the midquel. There's 9 midquel chapters between Worm and Ward. So the song you're listening to is Speck by ScarlettXOX. You can find our Discord. You can find her work at twitch.tv/Scarlett_Rogue. Our Discord server can be found at the link in the channel and stream description, along with the other links. The author of the work being discussed can be supported on Patreon at patreon.com/Wildbow. The full text of the work is available for free online at parahumans.wordpress.com, and there's also a fan-made audiobook of the entire work, 2 of them in fact, at audioworm.rain-online.org and at abaddonproductions.org. Thanks for being here for the stream. To Greg, Vic, and Alien Cat Daddy CGS 5904. I'll let the song play out, and I will see you for the next chapter, 30.4. Cheers, Greg.